Grandpa, tell me the date. What's the date today?
17th today of December, yeah.
Of 1995. Okay.
When I was first married to your grandmother, hell, I was bald-headed then.
So what did the barber tell you?
Said I'd never go bald-headed. I had lots of hair.
What happened?
I don't know, I just slipped pretty young.
Now you don't trust your barber, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. What year were you born, Grandpa?
1902, January 16th, 1902.
Well, in just a couple weeks you'll be how old?
94. 1 month from today.
That's pretty old, isn't it?
Not many people left Wayne County that's any older.
There aren't any, are there?
Yeah, I have a cousin, Lon Ellett, lives there in Bignell. He's 9 months older than me. And I have a cousin lives down here in Salt Lake somewhere that she's about 9 months older than me. And Claude Baker in Bignell is about 4 years older than I am. And he's been going down to staying with his son and his children down in California for 3 or 4 years, but this he's now in a home up in Salt Lake here somewhere up this way.
Well, how did your father and your mother, tell me their names again?
Charles and Millie.
Charles and Millie?
Millie Maxfield. And Dad was 6 or 8 years older than her. And he died with crippled up with arthritis for years.
How did they end up in Wayne County?
Well, Grandpa Ellett and Grandma Ellett came over in some of the early pioneers.
Your grandmother and your grandfather?
My granddad was a pony rider, and grandmother Ellett, he'd let grandmother, she's a little younger than him, you know, and he'd let her ride on a horse behind him. And then they would live down in Duchesne, or Delta country there till I moved to Fremont, and so that's where I was born, there in Fremont.
But where were your parents born?
Well, they were born there in Wayne County.
In Wayne County?
Yeah.
But your father's parents, they were from?
They were pioneers. Grandmother, after moved out here in this Delta country, taught school there. That's before they was married, you know. And she lived in the schoolhouse, and she taught school.
Right in Delta? She taught school in Delta, or in that area?
In that area there. I'm not sure what towns. Mary is my grandmother's name.
Mary?
Mary Ellett. She was a Turner.
What was your grandfather's name?
Can't remember anything anymore, Danny.
That's okay. What did he do?
He's a farmer.
He was a farmer?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, I was over in Holden. Lived in around Holden country there.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I suppose they were married out there somewhere, and then they moved to Wayne County. You know, mother was in Maxfield, and she was in. Then her dad and mother. I can remember when I was just a very little kid, lived right there in Fremont, and then they later moved over in Emery County.
Hmm.
And Granddad, well, I guess Granddad died there in Fremont, and then the family moved over in Emery County, and then after my grandmother, Maxfield, mother's mother, lived with my folks there in Fremont for several years before she passed away.
What do you remember about your grandparents?
Well, not too much. What I can remember when Granddad lived there in Fremont, and he was sick quite a lot, you know, and I can remember that. And then
You remember what he was sick from?
no,
Hmm.
and then of course grandmother, when she lived there with the folks, I can remember her walking with a cane, you know. She passed away, so, but they're both buried there in Fremont.
How old were you when they passed away?
Well, I wasn't very old when Granddad passed away, and I was pretty young when grandmother passed away. I was still going to school in Fremont,
In high school or elementary school?
elementary.
You remember any stories that they told you
No,
about
no.
being pioneers or anything?
Don't remember a thing about it. Only thing I remember of Granddad letting grandmother ride on his back of his saddle when there's coming across the plains.
Your grandmother rode on the back of your grandfather's horse across the plains,
Yeah,
but they weren't married at the time.
no.
How old were they when they came across?
Well, I can't tell you that. Even.
Do you remember where they came from?
No. I don't remember anything. When I was just a little kid, how old was Parker?
Parker is 7. He's almost 8.
When I was his age, I was driving a team horses, farming around all over then. On Harrow, you know, and I used to, after I got a little bigger, my dad used to sow his grain sitting in the back of a wagon box, you know. He'd put a tub full in the tub there, and I'd drive the team, and he'd sit there and sow with both hands like that.
He'd just take the seed and
Yeah,
spread it out, huh?
and then of course then it harrowed in with an old peg-tooth harrow and marked it off, you know.
Hmm.
And so.
Now you're the oldest boy. You're the oldest in the family, aren't you? Oldest child.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I had my sister, just younger than me,
Nola.
Lola. She died at age 3,
Oh, really?
and
Do you know what she died of?
no, I'm not sure right now.
And how much older were you than Lola?
Then Lola, I don't know. Like I say, she's three years old, and then then Nola, my second sister, was born. Then Leland and Carl and Eldon.
So there was James. You're the oldest.
Uh,
Then you had a sister, Lola.
Nola, or Lola.
Lola with an L.
Died.
And she died when she was 3.
Yeah.
How old were you when she died?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was pretty young.
And then you had another sister, Nola.
Nola,
And then a brother,
Leland,
Leland. And another brother,
Carl,
Carl.
and Eldon.
And then Neldon.
Yeah.
So 6 children.
Yeah.
What do you remember about growing up with your brothers and your sister?
Well, I don't remember too much about it. My brothers and I never did have a fight in our lives together. When Dad says, do this or that, that is all there was to it. He spoke to us once. If he had to use the board, why, he's very, very strict. But it didn't matter what happened to me as long as I could be working with the horses and with my dad.
What did you like about that?
Well, I just enjoyed working with him. Like I say, when we built that Forsyth Reservoir there, we worked with 2 teams. My dad had a team and I had a team, and we got each $4 a day in water stock, but no money.
Did that water stock help you later on with your farming quite a bit?
Oh yes, Dad needed on the, had a little, he had about 15 acres there in Fremont that Carl still has now, and then down south of Fremont, about a mile, is where his main farm was.
What were your brothers doing while you and your dad were working on the reservoir?
Well, they were just youngsters growing up.
Oh, were they?
Living at home, you know. And I used to, my dad, when they first started in that country, they bought some of the different fellows there in Fremont bought a stud horse. He weighed a great big black horse, and he was full of paprika, you know. My dad run him, and he bred him there in Fremont, and traveled him down to Law and Lyman. He'd go down there about 1 day a week, you know, and like that. Well, Dad, our krills were down south of, when I was just a little fellow, south of the house. And then he moved them up east of the house and rebuilt nice new krills, you know, and all. And he always had 2 teams that had in the stables, and then this damn stud horse in another stable, just partition between them, you know. Well, we had those stables to clean out all the time, you know, and feed them, besides feed the milk cows and what few livestock we had, milk the cows and fed the pigs and like that, and hauled wood with the team and wagon, you know. And after Dad got crippled up and like that, and I got married, the boys that Carl and Eldon, or Leland and Carl, would go with me, and we'd go up and haul wood. Had to get a big pile of wood piled up for Dad and for me both. So like I said, there wasn't anything much that I didn't get into while I was growing up.
How did you get along with Nola, your sister?
Oh, good. Yeah, I never did have any troubles at all. But she got in family trouble with a fellow there, and her first, she had a son, Bud, lives in Richfield now, there by her, and then of course the folks pretty much raised him, and Nola was working here and there before she was remarried, and then when I was running the show house and the store there in Lowell, she worked for me.
Oh, did she?
Yeah,
She worked for you in the store and at the show house, huh?
yeah,
And you lived in Fremont for quite a while.
yeah. I lived in Fremont till after I was married.
Hmm.
And I went to, I graduated from the 8th grade in Fremont. Then I went to high school down in Bicknell, and then went out to Salina one year, and then up to BY, where I started to teach. And I taught school in 4 different towns in Bicknell.
Really?
And,
So you went to Brigham Young University for a while? For 1 year?
yeah,
Did you also go to Snow College, is that right?
yeah,
How long did you go to Snow College?
yeah. I don't remember what year it was.
I heard you were a cheerleader. Were you a cheerleader at Snow College?
I was assistant cheerleader, Well, when I was going to college up to Provo, I was assistant yell master there, and a time or two when I had a girl from Emory that was the yell master, and I was her assistant. A time or two she'd be gone, I had to lead the deal, and I took blacksmithing, well, in 1 year in Bicknell, then up at Snow.
Did you enjoy that?
Very much, yeah, very much. Learned to weld. I made a whole set of doubletree clevises and power stations out of old horseshoes. Took the old horseshoes and welded them into iron,
Mm-hmm.
and made
Hmm.
in fact, I give Don, he has my blacksmith hammer, single jack, that I made out of horseshoes. I give that to him.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and he's still got that. But my clevises and punches and chisels and things like that was all disappeared. And, clevises, they changed and things, which was left on the farm, when I left there, and they've all disappeared now.
Were you too young to get drafted into World War I?
Yeah, I was too young for that.
By what, 3 or 4 years, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Yes, my youngest brother he was turned down. He didn't pass the examination, or he'd have went.
He didn't get past the physical?
No, he didn't pass the physical.
Hmm. So, where did you meet Mabel, your wife?
On Duchesne.
What were you doing up there?
I was
Chasing girls, huh?
Working on what they call a blue winch, big hay farm. There's up on north of Duchesne, up on a bench oh, it was maybe 200 or 300 feet higher than the town, and they had two great big ranches up there, hay ranches, and I was working up there when, and she was a cook in the cafe there in Cushing.
So tell me about when you met her.
Well, we used to go, I had two cousins, Charlie Jensen, Miles Pierce, was working out there, and they come home for the, I guess it's either the 4th or 24th, and I went to, I don't know where I was working then, but anyway, I didn't have anything to do, and I went back out with them. I had my own car then, first car I ever had.
What kind was it?
An old Chevrolet, and we went on Sunday. We'd go down to town. They'd have a baseball game, you know, and both of them were good baseball players, and I see her there to the ball game one day, and I thought, well, that's the prettiest girl I'd about ever seen. And when I went home talking to Charlie and Milo, and they told me where she was, who she was, and where she worked. But she was born in Emory, and her folks finally moved over in Price country, see, and anyway. We went down there to a hotel where she was working, had something to eat, you know, and that's where I first met her. And then we started dating her there, and married her before I went home. Of course, I'd taught school the year before that.
How old were you when you got married?
I believe 27.
About 27, huh? Did she like you right away?
I guess she did. Yeah.
How long did you know her before you got married? How many months did you date?
Oh, just a few months. There, and then
Where were you married?
we were married there in Duchesne, and then
By the Justice of the Peace?
we went home after that fall, you know, taught school, and then next spring I went back out there to work, and Ladon was born.
And your first house with Mabel was in Fremont?
Huh?
Your first house was in Fremont with Mabel?
Oh yeah. I worked for more than a dozen different farmers in my life, and about that many different sheepmen. I never did herd sheep, but one summer I herded a couple of months. Other than that, I was campjack, and I had 2 different summers there. I run campjack for a fellow by the name of Jeffrey that lived over in the desert east of Fremont, and I moved camp for both herds, all on pack horses, you know. One summer I herded, worked for Monroe Co-op herd from over in Monroe. They had a team and wagon that they moved camp. So I stirred up many a batch of sourdough bread.
You taught school for a while too, huh?
Huh?
You taught school?
I taught school in 4 different towns, about 7 years.
After you graduated from college, why did you stop teaching school?
Well, it was in the Depression times, and they cut us down to 5 months school and only getting $50 a month. So that was a mistake I made, because some of the fellows, that stayed with it, they got to paying more wages, and holding school full length time, and done all right. Then I run a service station. Well, I worked in Chevrolet Motor Company in service station part 1 year when we lived out there, and then I moved back to Lowell and went in the service station business there of my own, and then I bought from a fellow there in town, bought a store and run a little grocery store. At the time I was running two show houses, running the store and freighting turkey feed for Wayne County and Cashurum.
You were a busy guy.
I'll tell you, I was busy.
Where did you get all your energy?
From my dad. I don't know. My dad was very, very strict, and I got to board more than once. But Dad never spoke to one of us the second time. He'd say, do this or do that, tell you what to do. And if it wasn't done like he said, why, I'll tell you, you paid for it. But to me, there never was a man any better than my dad. He was a great horseman. He knew horses. He could show them, and things like that. And as long as I could work with a team and saddle horse or something, I didn't care what I got, as far as money was concerned, until I got old enough to work out for different. But as long as I could be with my dad and work with horses and teaming things around, I didn't matter what went on.
How did you save enough money to get capital to invest in different businesses?
Well, I don't know, just a dollar here and there. I worked on that Grover Boulder Road for the CCs one summer, and when LaDon was about 5 or 6 years old. And when I run the service station there in Lowell, bought the first service station, we'd get maybe 50 cents a car for washing and greasing it and it up. And
Did you get, were you opened the first service station in Loa? Is that right?
yeah, it was one of the first service stations that was built in Lowell. And when I sold that and let that go, then that's when I moved up took the show house there in Lowell, and the store right there by it, and built my first home there.
Why did you decide to sell the service station?
Got to start in the show business, and the store, and let the service station go.
Did you like the show business? Did you like the
I'll
theater
say,
business?
Yeah, I really liked it.
What did you like about it?
Liked to work with the people and run the shows and stuff like that. Of course, I learned to operate the machine all right like that, but I had an operator all the time.
Did you like to watch the movies too?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would see part of it, and after, especially after the first show, always run two shows, and after the first show started, then I'd get to watch it a little. We started out selling show tickets for 50 cents for adults. When I got up and changed it up to 75 cents, people felt like lynching us.
They didn't like you doing that, huh?
Well, money was scarce, them days.
Yeah. What was my mother like as a little girl?
The girls both were good workers, their mother taught them to cook and do things. And let's see, well, Melba is...
I think she's 8 years older, isn't she? About 8 years?
And Melba is 30 years younger than I am.
Melba's 30. You were 30 when Melba was born?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were about 38 when my mother was born?
I imagine about that.
Somewhere in there. Was my mother spoiled? Uncle Adon tells me that my mother was spoiled.
No, she wasn't. They knew how to work and did work, I'll tell you. Of course, she was the youngest of the family, and it was a little different than the older ones, no question about that. When I was working run the store there and in the show houses and all, I had a partner in the show business later on, and I had to go to Salt Lake to buy my films, and some of the film men would come over in Wayne County, and we'd book some of them, but I had to go to Salt Lake to book them. And when your mother was just a young kid then growing up, and my partners that I had there, they wouldn't go to buy films and all that, but they'd turn around and say, didn't need to worry about it as long as Lola Ann was there to help them. Then I went into the turkey business and lost my shirt in that. One year I had a fellow from Bicknell there that helped me. He we moved the turkeys over to a ranch over in Burrville, and I bought a new tent, and he went over there, and of course I bought the groceries and things for him, and but that year we shipped the turkeys, and they put on storage back there, and I got a bill back for storage on them. So so I just lost my whole summer's work and expense.
Well, how did you feel about that?
Didn't do anything, just had to go on. That's when I was running the stores.
So you still had the stores to fall back on?
Oh yes, yes. And the Donna's kind of growing up then, and in the summertime, I moved the turkeys up on the place that up to Fremont. But Dad had, like I say, give Leela and I split his place up there, and moved white turkeys up there on my one, and Ladon went up. They had a little trailer house that he lived in and took care of. And of course, I was up there every day. Well, then Dad was all crippled up with rheumatics, you know. He couldn't straighten his legs anymore than that. He was on crutches and crippled up there. But he had a little old Ford coupe car, and he drove around, and him and Mother would get in that and go up to Forsyth Reservoir and fish. And Dad had sat on a chair there, and they had these old cane poles, and Mother'd carry his line up the hill, you know, and then he'd cast them out. And boy, they used to catch the fish.
They liked it, huh?
Oh, they.
So, where did you learn to fish?
Living fish? Hell, I fished all my life. Fishing used to be good when I was a kid. When I used to fish those old cane poles, and I started to getting different ones, and then finally, well, after I got a boat, and used to go on four sides of the boat and fish a lot. I used to like to hunt deer and fish.
Where did you go hunting deer?
Up on the Thousand Lake Mountain, on the North Mountain, on the north of Fremont, on the east. I killed my share of deer and caught my share of fish. After I got a boat and a motor, I really enjoyed fishing up with Forsyth, up the Fish Lake. We used to, the friends and I, used to go up to Fish Lake and fish in the evening, and go where the cabins are on the north of Fish Lake. We'd get a boat there and just go out a little ways out there, go east to what you call the Boy Bay bush, and out just a little ways, and you could look down there and see that damn water bubbling up. Be little sand moles around where that water's blowing up, you know, and that's right in. That's exactly there where we do most of the fishing.
That's the place, huh?
But we never had any trouble getting a mess of fish. I'd have a spell and go outside of the house, lay down on the ground. We get to feeling better, and then and doctors kept telling me it's too high in that country for me, and I should move out. So that's when I sold out, and Don was living in Payson, and when we left, Mabel says, well, we moved up there to him. I just more or less sold the home in Loa. So after I kind of got out of the show business.
You had known Wanda ever since you were both very young.
Oh, yes. Yes, used to note her, dance to her music many times. When, you know, after.
How old were you when you first met Wanda?
I knew her back when before she's married and playing the orchestra with her dad. And,
So you knew Wanda before she was married to her first husband.
oh yes, yeah. But I was real lucky to get Wanda after your mother died. See, I was living up in Kearns at that time, and of course Wanda she lost her husband then, and one day I was living just across the road from the service station there with my sister Noah. Wanda, I don't know what happened up there, and her son, and that's after Ren had died.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, Nelson was there in the service station. He run that service station that I had, and he told her, he says, "Well, James is going down there. I believe he'll take you down." So he come over and told me. So I went and got her and took her down there. That's the first trip. Well, when I got down there, why, she had tending somebody's kids or something. She had to go, so I didn't get to stay long. But then from then on, we started going together. And I don't know, hadn't been going together very long till Lel, her son, I says, "Mother," says, what's your intentions?" And once he says, "I don't know," says, "he don't seem to, he has heart trouble, don't seem to feel too good." Well, he says, "Wouldn't 3 or 4 years be worth it?" and we had almost 16 years together.
They were good years?
Good years, yeah. I couldn't have had 2 better women than I had.
What was the age difference between you and,
What?
what was the age difference between you and your, and Wanda?
About 8.
About 8 years?
And I had a little dance orchestra before I was ever married. I had played the violin, and I had a partner that played the cornet, and one that played the drums, and then had several different women that played the piano for us. And so we played for dances in Fremont, Lowell, Lyman, and Bicknell, Torrey.
Did they have dances often?
Quite often, yes. And during the holiday times, now my second wife's, Wanda's father was a violinist, and he was good, and he had a family orchestra of his own, you know, and Wanda played the saxophone, and she was good at it. And during the holidays, we danced every night, sometimes two orchestras, Sam's orchestra and mine, there in Wayne County, every night through the holidays. I enjoyed the little dance orchestra about as much as anything. I used to like to dance and, you know, chase girls. I never was a loner, and that's my trouble now since I've been left alone. I just can't. My kids couldn't be any better to me than all 3 of them are, but it isn't like having a partner of your own and a home of your own. I laid awake a lot of times now and wished, I don't know, I wish so much that I'd kept a record of my life from the beginning up. but I never did.